Good morning, everybody. How are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome to my channel. And if you're a new viewer, welcome, welcome. And before I continue, I will ask if you like my video, if you like my channel, please subscribe, like and subscribe, because it really helps this single mom out. It really does. So anyway, I hope you're all doing well. I decided to make this video about caregiving for the elderly because of a video that I watched, and I felt really bad for the person. And I just wanted to speak about the reality of, hold on guys. Oh my gosh, I don't know what my brain does when I get on here. I always forget to do this. Okay, there. I have to watch what it is I have to watch the clock online because my camera only goes 30 minutes. So I have to kind of watch it here and there. But anyway, I wanted to talk about caregiving because, or the reality of it. It's caregiving for the elderly, I should say. Well, not just the elderly, but I guess if you're a caregiver for anybody that's incapacitated for whatever reason, it is one of the hardest jobs in the world, guys, and I mean one of the hardest jobs ever, because I did it. I was a caregiver for the elderly for several years, and oh my goodness, what I went through. And I don't think a lot of people understand the seriousness of it and the hardship of it. I've seen comments on videos where people say things like, oh, how hard can it be to take care of an old person who's all, you know, feeble, what have you. They don't have a clue. And it really upset me when I saw that. I thought that, boy, when I see some of those comments, I'm like, man, you really do not know what it's all about to take care of someone who is incapacitated, or mainly this is about caregiving for the elderly, I guess I should say, but caregiving in general. Yeah, when I did it, it was a very difficult journey, extremely difficult job, very, very hard. There were times that I got punched, I got kicked, I got hit, I got scratched, I got thrown, you name it, by these elderly people who had, you know, dementia. And even I think there was only one that I took care of that didn't have dementia, and she was still so difficult. I quit in a week. I was like, no, I am not going to let anybody put me through this. She was extremely difficult. She was just mean. She was just downright mean, and I thought, no, I have to take care of me for this. I can't have this woman destroying me. But it is a very difficult job. People don't understand the toll it takes. I started doing this as a job because my first job in doing that was taking care of my mother. After my father died, she had a stroke at his funeral and couldn't take care of herself, and eventually my son and I moved in to take care of her. And let me tell you, that was one of the hardest times in my life, because she got dementia from the strokes that she had. Had she not had the issues with the dementia, I'm telling you, it would have been, for me personally, it would have been one of the most wonderful things to take care of my mom at the end there. It would have been wonderful. But because of the dementia, you wouldn't believe the things that my son and I went through. It was very difficult. She wouldn't know who we were. She'd get angry because she didn't know who we were and why we were in her house. She would lash out. She'd throw a plate of food. She'd scream. She'd accuse us of what have you. You know, you broke into my house. Why are you here? That type of thing. That was all the time. And let me tell you, it takes a toll on you mentally. For those of you that are caregivers, I really, my heart goes out to you, because it is a 24-hour job. My mother would wake up in the middle of the night. The first time it happened, she woke up in the middle of the night while I was asleep and tried to get out the front door. Yeah, so I was like, oh my God, we got to do something here. It just never ended. She tried to escape through her bedroom window. I had to pull this huge dresser with this huge mirror that they had in their room. I had to pull that in front of the window because she was figuring out how to unlock them. It was just a nightmare, guys. It was very, very hard. And those of you that are doing this, I'm telling you what, my heart goes out to you, and I have so much compassion for you, because a lot of people do not understand how difficult it is, especially when you see these absurd commercials, these ads on TV for a home caregiving place, and they show the woman going in there just so delightful, and she's handing her patient or her client, whatever you want to call it, she's handing them a cup of tea and a little sandwich on a plate, and they're smiling and they're talking in that little commercial. Yeah, that's not the reality of it. It might be in some cases, I'm sure. There might be some out there, but that's not always the case. Taking care of the elderly when they are like that it is mind-blowing what it does to you emotionally, mentally, physically. After I stopped taking care of my mother, one of my sisters put her in an assisted living place. After I stopped taking care of her, I literally broke out in shingles. And the doctor said stress will do that. Stress will activate shingles. And so I got them below my left shoulder blade. And this is way back in 2000. Let's see, I stopped watching her around 2009, I believe it was. That's how long ago that was. And I ended up with shingles. And, well, it's 2025. And I still have residual pain on the nerves. Every now and then it pops up from where the shingles were. So yeah, it's a very stressful job. It just exhausts you completely mentally and physically. It exhausts you. Lifting people in and out of their wheelchairs, bathing them, cleaning them, helping them walk to where they need to go to or whatever. It's a never-ending thing. And when I watched this video, I felt so bad for this woman, because she said people don't seem to understand how hard it is that she's taking care of this elderly relative. And I thought, man, people, unless you've done it full time, you have no idea what it is. And what was so strange is when someone would come to visit my mother, which there was only one person that came to visit my mother. Of all the people she knows, there's only one person that came to visit her regularly, just regularly, and that was a cousin I have named Nellie. And she would come and see my mom often, and my mother went from this terror to a complete sweet angel when my cousin would come. And I thought, how is that happening when she has dementia? Her personality would switch like somebody flipped a switch. She'd be nasty and mean and what have you, and then all of a sudden Nellie would come over and she was hi, just as sweet as could be. It used to blow my mind. I thought, how can this be? How can she know to differentiate where she's at, who she's around, and who's coming in? You know what I mean? It was very, very strange. But those of you that are caregivers, oh my gosh. And, cooking the meals, doing the laundry, cleaning the house. I was one who did everything. I cooked their meals, I gave them the medicine, I cleaned the house, I did their laundry, I took them to their doctors and eye doctors, regular doctors, appointments, whatever. That's what I did. And it was exhausting. In fact, just thinking of it now, I'm telling you, I look back at that time and I think, how did I do it? How did I get through that? How did I manage that physically and mentally? Because it was so difficult, guys. And those of you going through it right now, there were times, if you've ever felt like this and you're a caregiver, and you've ever felt like this, do not feel guilty. There were times when I would sit in the living room watching what my mother was doing or watching what one of my clients were doing, and I would sit there and think, I just want to run out the front door and never turn around, never come back. I just want to run. Even with my own mother. I loved my mother with all my heart, but that dementia was tough to take. And I would sit there and think, I just want to run. I just want out of here. It was very hard. There were times when I would sit there with a client, I'd be doing whatever with the client, I should say, and they got nasty and mean and would hit me and grab me and squeeze me and pinch me and scratch me and, shove me, that type of thing. And I'd think to myself, what am I doing? I need to just run out of this house. I would, guys. So if you're a caregiver and you get those feelings, it's not because you don't care. It's not because you don't love the person, say it's your mother, father, brother, whoever. It's not that you don't love them. It's that the human mind can only take so much pressure from anyone, so much mistreatment from anyone. It can only take so much, because there's a lot of stuff in life that happens, and after a while the brain says, you know what, you've mistreated me, you've disrespected me, you've hurt me way too much. I can't take this anymore. I'm not perfect, I'm not whatever, but I'm a human being and I have feelings, and I'm not going to take the disrespect anymore. And even though you know that person has dementia, you still feel that way. You still feel that way, believe me. You sit there and you think, my gosh, talk about disrespect and cruelty and just meanness. When you have that in your brain every single day from this person for however many hours during the day or night, it starts to affect you very, very deeply. And I did this job for many years. Yeah, it paid well, but what it did to me was it was very difficult. It was very, very difficult. And I think about all you caregivers out there that are doing this for a living, or you're just doing it because it's a family member. And I want you to know that I understand how extremely hard, what a hard job it is. I understand and I empathize with you. I have compassion for you, because a lot of people do not understand the extent of the hardship of being a caregiver. People who don't live it daily, they see it as you just taking care of somebody. Oh, well, yeah, I'm just taking care of my mom or whoever. I'm just, making them dinner or lunch, feeding them. They don't see the entire picture, which is exhausting. It's beyond exhausting. It wears you down to a frazzle, to where you feel like you can't make it through another day. There were times I would get off a job and I would come home and my brain was like fried from trying to deal with this dementia person all day long. Just, it felt like it was fried. And the last person that I took care of, he was very difficult. Oh my God, he was difficult. And there was one time when he was in a raging type of mood, I call it. He was in a raging mood. And I was trying to keep him from going out the front door. And he got mad at me and he shoved me so hard that I literally fell back into the dining room chair, the ones that have the arms on the side. I fell back into that chair and it snapped off the arm, from the wooden arm from the chair. That's how hard he threw me. And I was luckily able to get back up. But yeah, he was very, very difficult. And trying to find ways with each client, you have to figure out what works for them, what ways you can get through to them, what ways you can work around them, what ways you can get them to do what you need to do. Each one is different. You don't get to walk in and just, oh, okay, well, I want you to do this and I want you to go take care of that and let's do this. It doesn't work that way, because each one with dementia reacts differently to everything that you do. So you have to literally, when you start a job, you have to navigate yourself, figuring out, okay, this didn't work with this person. Maybe if I say these words, or maybe if I talk in this tone of voice, or maybe if I coax him in a different way, or her, it's a mind game. It's really a mind game to deal with that. I guess mainly you know, right now this video is mainly because all of my clients had a form of dementia, even my own mother, except for one woman, and that's the one I just left. But I guess this is mainly geared toward people who do have to take care of the elderly with dementia, because it is, I'm just going to word it as it is. It is hell. It is really hell. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I mean that in the way that it takes a toll on you mentally, physically, and emotionally. It takes a toll on all of you, every bit of you. I remember times I would come home, end my day, lie in bed crying, thinking about going to that job the next day. I would be crying, thinking, oh my God, I have to go through this abuse again. I have to go through this abuse again. But at the same time, it's weird how things work, but at the same time, I felt good that I was helping these people, that I was keeping them safe, that they weren't in some you know, some place for those type of people where they might be abused or injured or whatever. So I had this good feeling of I may be going through a hardship taking care of them, but I'm keeping them safe. I'm keeping this person safe and unharmed, not to be, you know, verbally or physically abused or assaulted, as we've seen in some cases. Elderly people have been actually sexually assaulted in those nursing homes. So I always had this feeling of this person is safe. So when my time with a client would end, I felt good knowing, okay, it may have been hard, but that person was safe. You know what I mean? It was just a kind of mixed bag of emotions. But it is, I just wanted to make this to show the people out there that are doing this job as a caregiver, and as, like I say, for anybody really, if you're caregiving for somebody who's incapacitated in any way, it's still just as hard, even though there may not be dementia. But the dementia, well, I will say the dementia does make it a lot harder, because you're not only dealing with the physical aspect of somebody who's really old, but you're having to deal with the mental aspect of trying to work around that dementia. And it is not easy, guys. I'm telling you, when I think of what I went through, to be honest with you, I don't know how I came out of it with any kind of sanity, I think I'm saying. But it was very difficult. My mother didn't even know who her grandson was. She would sit there and say, "You're not my grandson," you know, blah, blah, blah. For those of you, like, I'm Spanish, okay, I am Spanish, but the son that was with me, he's very pale, he's very white, I guess you could say, very pale person. And my mother would actually, because she's Spanish, my mother would actually walk up to him and throw a fit asking who this gringo was in her house. She'd be like, "Who is this gringo in my house?" And for those of you that don't know what gringo means, it's a Spanish word for somebody that's not Spanish, not Hispanic, you know, white. And she would go up to him and she'd kick his door, his bedroom door, telling him to get out because she didn't know who this gringo was. I mean, it was very difficult. And so I just want those of you, maybe you're watching this right now, maybe you are doing caregiving right now, maybe you're getting off of your job from caregiving and you're watching this, and I want you to know, take it easy, take a breath, take some deep breaths, get yourself a nice cup of tea or coffee or something, or maybe a little treat for yourself, calm yourself down, bring yourself down, because I had to do that every single night. Every night I used to be up till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, even though I had to get up for work, because I was so stressed I could not just go to bed, couldn't go to sleep. The stress was keeping me awake. So take the time to take care of yourself. Take the time to do what you need to. Maybe take a nice hot bath, an Epsom salt bath that has some wonderful scents like lavender. Lavender is very relaxing. Put some lavender drops, lavender oil drops on your pillow, like on the sides, a couple of drops, just to give out the lavender scent but not be overwhelming. and it can help you relax and sleep at night. That's what I'm doing now. I have some lavender drops, and I put one on each corner of the pillow on one side, just a little tiny drop, and that scent kind of wafts around you, and it relaxes you and helps you to sleep. Think of ways to give yourself self-care while you're doing this job of being a caregiver, because if you don't, you can just fall apart physically. Mentally, it's already hard enough, but you can get very sick physically because of the stress related to this kind of work. It can really get to you. And so you need to treat yourself and take care of yourself. That hot bath, a nice cup of tea, a little treat, planning your day, maybe plan a day or two off on your days off to do nothing. Just maybe veg out on the couch or in bed and watch some movies or whatever you like to watch on TV to give your body and your mind a rest. Watch something that takes your brain away from what you do for the caregiving. Because if you don't, it will make you fall apart. I really believe that my last job ended when the time was right for me to stop. Because this last client I took care of, I watched him 4.5 years. And let me tell you, that was one, well actually I started in 2013, didn't stop till September of 2019. So yeah, about 4.5, 5 years. Or let's see, no, that'd be about 5 years. So yeah, I don't know if things work, how people say things happen when they're supposed to. I was reaching a point with him where I thought I was going to lose my freaking mind because he was so difficult. This guy, I am not lying to you, when I would go to shower him, he was in his 80s, and when I would go to shower him, he would fight me and argue with me, and he would tell me, and I'd finally get him in the shower. I'd finally get him undressed and get him in the shower. And he'd stand there fighting me to wash him and clean him. And he'd say, this is what he would say. He'd say, no woman is allowed in the shower unless she's going to have sex with me. I mean, the first time he said it to me, I was like, what? I couldn't believe it. It just stunned me. And then that became his ritual. He would say that to me. So guess what I had to do in order to get him to let me shower him? I would agree with him. I'd say, okay, well, after I shower you, we'll do that, okay? We'll do that. And then that would calm him down. And he'd be like, are you sure? And I'd be, oh yeah, don't worry. As soon as I'm done showering you, we'll get in that bed. And he'd go, okay. And then he'd stand there and let me shower him. So there I am as a caregiver agreeing with this 80-something-year-old man, him thinking he's going to have sex because he got showered. That was the only way I could get him to let me shower him. And how weird is that? I mean, seriously. That was such a weird feeling, because after he had said that first time, I thought, oh my gosh, well then the next day that I had to shower him, and he was arguing with me, I didn't know what to do. I was like, oh God, here we go with the argument again. What do I do? What do I do? And then something just snapped and said, Lori, you're dealing with a man who has dementia. You cannot fight this. Just go along with it for the shower. So the next day he gets in, and I have the water running, of course, and I get him in there. And the first thing he does is he turns to me and goes, so, are we going to have sex? And I looked at him and I said, oh yeah, I can't wait, I can't wait. And he calmed down, and I was able to shower him. And by the time I was done showering him, he forgot, because of his dementia. He forgot what was spoken of, so that made it so much easier for me, because you wouldn't believe how he would battle me to shower. Oh my God. He would lash out, he'd grab my hair, he'd scratch me, he'd hit me, he'd pull on my clothes to just like, I mean, it was hell. And then it went from that hell every day to simply, yeah, no problem, we'll do that. And then there was one day, I thought, I'm curious if he's totally forgotten it. And so I looked at him and I said, do you remember what we talked about when you got into the shower? And he looks at me and goes, no, what are you talking about? And I just said, oh, I was just curious. Because I was curious, like, does he even remember what he said and what he what he created. This guy was really difficult, really difficult. He wanted to cook for himself. I'd have to sometimes argue in the kitchen. It was hard. But that's what I mean when I say that you have to find what works to make it as peaceful as you can, because every one of them is different, and every one of them will react differently to what you're doing and how you're handling them, how you're wording things. I mean, this guy would get pretty vicious sometimes, and that was no matter what I said. I would have to he would grab me or something, and I'd have to grab his shoulders to hold him away to get him to calm down, and then he'd finally get calmed down and walk away like he did nothing. It was so strange. But yeah, I just want you guys out there who are caregivers to know, boy, do I have the compassion and empathy for you, because this is a job that it takes so much mental, emotional, and physical energy that it can affect your health, and you do have to be very careful. You do have to be very careful. And if you find that it's affecting your health to the point that you are getting sick, or you're noticing physical changes that aren't good, maybe this isn't the job for you. Maybe, or just take a break from it for a while if you can financially, and take a break from it and then go back to it. I took a break for 6 weeks after one of my clients. 6 weeks. I was like, I can't do this. And then I got back into it because it was taking a toll on me, a serious toll. So yeah, I just want you to know my heart goes out to you, and I hope that if this is your job, you're able to find a way to deal with this in a way that you can live your own life and not be severely affected by it. However, if you live with that person and you're the caregiver, I know the hardship of that. You don't get to walk away. You don't get to just say, oh, well, I'm off this weekend. No, and that makes it 10 times harder, 100 times harder, because I was there. I was there with my mother 7 days a week, and it was a hardship that I would never want to experience again in my life. And it breaks my heart, because if she hadn't had dementia, I always visualize what it would have, in my head I envision what it would have been like, because I was happy to take care of my mother. I was very happy to take care of her, even though it was a hardship. I was happy to know that my mother was safe and taken care of. And I think about how it would have been without the dementia. I think of how cool it would have been to just be there with my mom, sharing the days, talking with her, taking her places and taking her out to eat, what have you. I couldn't even do that. I would take my mom somewhere and she would just lose it for whatever reason, so it got to where it was too difficult to even take her any place. And luckily, when my cousin Nellie would come over, she'd tell me and my son, go. She'd say, go away for a few hours. Just get out of here and take a break. If it wouldn't have been for her, I don't know what we would have done. But she would do that. However, one of my sisters would take my mother on the weekend from Friday night to Sunday. And that still wasn't enough of a break. It takes that much of a toll on you. But when my cousin would come, she'd call and say, I'm coming over, and you guys can just leave. I'm telling you what, we couldn't wait to get in that car and be gone, just to take a break from it all. So anyway, guys, the time's running out here. I just want you to know that I understand, and all of you out there that do this, support one another, maybe in your comments, see what advice you can give that might help, what have you. But take care of yourselves, be strong, and treat yourselves. Give yourself self-care, not just the one you're giving caring to, because without that you could fall apart. So take care, guys, and as usual, my little Lily is here. My little Pixie is on the bed, on the couch. So say goodbye. Say goodbye, everybody. This is my girl. So take care, guys. I will see you later. See you in the next video, and have a good one. Bye-bye.